energy can never be destroyed. It only changes forms. And we have a great deal of power to harness energy and to use it to fuel our lives. Okay, ready for a third pillar? So, as you drive the highway of life, you're picking up bricks of knowledge to build the first two pillars that we've already talked about, the pillar of personal well-being and the pillar of relationships. But you're also picking up some bricks to build this third pillar, which is the pillar of abundant energy flow. And this pillar stands beside the other two to kind of hold up your life. So today we're going to talk all about energy. So we live in an energetic universe. And I'm not going to dive too deep into the science of this fact, but if this stuff kind of interests you and fascinates you, then just explore metaphysics and you'll get more than I could possibly teach. But science and spirituality are explaining the same things. They're just using different language to speak to different audiences. Science calls it energy. We call it consciousness. Sometimes I call it God stuff. God stuff or energy is what everything is made of. So, everything is made up of these little energy bits that are all vibrating at different rates to create things that appear as solid objects, all the way up to things that are effervescent or unseeable. And the cells of our bodies are made up of these little energy bits. And there really is no separation of anything. It looks like there is some empty space in between, but everything is all one expression. Again, in spirituality, we call this little energy bit consciousness or God stuff. Okay? So I like to use the idea of a video game. How many of you play at least one video game? How many of you have ever played a video game? Okay, phew. Okay. Maybe this analogy will work. All right. I like to use analogies because I think it helps you grapple with these concepts that are so huge. So if you think about a video game or even a television screen, think about pixels. Okay? Pixels are what make up the objects that we see. And so we could also call this little energy stuff pixels if we like. All right? Even if there appears to be empty space, you know that there are little pixels that just look like empty space, right? But if you zoom in, all of the pixels are touching each other. It's all connected. This is kind of my way of understanding the truth of oneness in the universe in which we live. It can be helpful to view yourself as a character in a video game, using the energy in your pixels to experience the game itself as you learn to move about and thrive in the system in which you are living. So everything is vibrating energy. Life as we know it is alive with energy, constantly moving and changing and taking on different shapes, okay? So the book that we're reading for class, How to Change Your Life, the example that it gives is the example of vapor solidifying into fog, solidifying further into rain, becoming part of a body of water, and then evaporating out. You know, last night we were at an outdoor concert and we literally watched the energy in the air take different forms and shapes and fall from the sky too. And watching that energy changing form is a really great reminder that it's all just energy. And we know that. It's just taking different forms. And that's our personal truth too. You know, we are plugged into this energy source that I call God. You can call it whatever you want to. And there's nothing that we can do to separate ourselves from it. Like the character in the video game can't say, never mind, I don't want to be attached to the source of itself, right? Energy's constantly flowing through us, and we use that energy to express and experience the life that we live. And our relationship with the flow of energy creates the quality of our life experience. The freer we flow, the richer our lives feel. Okay? So as we journey through life, we learn so many lessons about how to use the energy field around us. We learn the qualities of how the energy works by practicing with it. Now, most of us are not like consciously trying to learn it, right? Like in school. We're not reading about it and then practicing and then doing experiments, testing our theories, shifting a little bit. Okay, I'm going to try to learn it again. Most of us aren't really doing it like that. Most of us are just like learning as we go, like learning on the job, so to speak. Most of us are just living our lives and realizing that, oh, there's a cause and then there's an effect. And I do this and this is what happens, right? And we don't realize most of the time that we're working with energetic laws. Austin asked me about laws this morning. He's like, what is this about laws? Laws are operating in our world. We typically understand, or we begin to understand, natural laws, but those of us who try eventually start learning about spiritual laws. And mastering the relationship that we have with this divine energy is a pillar that can so very drastically change the quality of your life. It certainly has mine. And the more strong and confident I am in my ability to lean on and build upon this pillar, the better life has become. So today's lesson is about me sharing some of the things I've learned, some of the things I've learned along the way about how this energy stuff works, and I'm going to continue to share those kinds of things far beyond this lesson. This is just one lesson about it, right? But first, I want to help you understand how you can recognize energy flowing through your experiences, okay? So take a moment right now and feel the tiny vibration of life in your hands. Just feel that. Kind of buzzes, right? Right? Now I want you to remember something really special. Remember the first time you held hands with someone that you were crushed out on. Okay? You know, pop culture will often depict this moment as teenagers in the back row of a movie theater, like their hands just inch closer, and then all of a sudden they're like holding hands. They kind of hold your breath, right? So just remember that, right? And can you remember that surge of energy that sparked through your hands, went straight to your heart, and took your breath? Right? Come on. Everybody's had that, right? Okay, good. So when people combine their energy, sparks fly, so to speak, don't they? Right? The surge of energy happens anytime there is positive collaboration, cooperation, affection, love, support. In other words, connection. Sometimes I can feel it in my skin like goosebumps when I've made a significant energy connection with someone or something. Right? I can remember sometimes I'll end up helping someone find something, like they're lost, and I help them. I can feel this charge of energy that I know I connected with that person in a meaningful way. That's one way of having evidence of energy flowing, and you can increase the flow of energy through connection. And this connection can be with your highest self. It can be with other human beings, but can it also be with animals? How many of you have an animal that you just connect energetically with? Right? Studies have shown that animals can help our energy so very much, but also connection with nature. I feel it in nature. I feel it with music. I bet Moisa feels it with music. You feel that energy. Anything that has an effect that you can identify, that when you connect with it, you receive energy and exchange energy, that's good stuff, right? Another way that energy shows up in our field of expression is as life-affirming resources. Anything that makes your life work better, increases your satisfaction, gives you greater freedom, and all that good stuff can be understood as energy flowing. Most of us would put money in that category, right? But let's be clear, money's a symbol of energy flowing. It's not the energy itself. We're going to talk a lot about that this summer. So resources can also mean physical objects that support your life or opportunities, connections with other people that we already talked about, creative ideas, innovation, and many other things that you may value. That is energy flowing in your life. And now that I've introduced how to notice or identify, recognize this energy, I want to make my second point, and that is that we are not the source of the energy. In other words, we don't create it, nor does the energy flow into our lives for us to store it or hoard it. Okay? We aren't the source of the energy, and we are not the repository for the energy. We are actually channels through which these resources flow, and we spend our entire lives learning to understand how to see ourselves as a channel and how to remove any blockages that we've built within our channel that keep the energy from flowing freely. Life is going to continue to show us when we are blocked and give us positive experiences of flow that we can try to replicate with practice. Okay? It's also important for us all to understand that we don't all start off at the same point on our journey to learn about our relationship with energy source. So in childhood, some of us were taught very helpful things about relating to energy flow. I didn't use those words. But that we were taught some helpful things. And some of us were taught some very unhelpful things. But regardless of what we were taught by others, each of us gets to have our own personal experience and lessons about how it really works for us. And along the way, we either decide to agree with and live by the things that we were taught and have experiences very similar to our families, or we challenge the things that we were taught and create vastly different life experiences as we go. Can you relate? Okay? The bottom line is, the more you understand your own relationship with energy and how it works, the more empowered you are to use your energy to have a better life. Okay? So let's take electricity as a basic energy that we all have some experience with. And let's take what we've learned about and what we know about electricity and then try to apply the basic ideas to other energy flow, okay? So electricity has always been a part of our lives, and we've had to learn to work with it to varying degrees, right? Now, if you're like me, my parents just taught me fear about electricity. Like, don't stick that hair clip into the socket, or, don't let your blow dryer fall into the tub, or always call an electrician, don't try it yourself. So basically, based on all of that, it's a wonder I use electricity at all, right? Now, if one of your family members was an electrician, the messages may have been way more helpful. They may have taught you how to ground a wire or how to use electrical tape to stop the flow or conduction of it or whatever. More sophisticated, nuanced information rather than just abject fear about it. You would have been taught how to relate to electricity and how to use it purposefully, right? If you got that training, good on you. But we go from whatever our starting point is about knowing about something and have our own experiences with the electricity around us. We learn to use it safely, to enhance our life experiences and power the world we inhabit in a safe and easy way. Now, there's no guarantee that you won't get shocked from time to time, but we learn from that too. And so I have this funny story. It's not really funny, but it was an experience that I had when I was a teenager. So, do you remember, young people, just ignore. Do you remember the dishwashers that you would roll across the kitchen floor and hook up to the sink? Yay, okay, some people are old like me. All right, so I remember I was a teenager. I was barefoot in the kitchen, and you had to roll that dishwasher across the kitchen to the sink and hook it in. As I said, I was barefooted. And as I was rinsing the dishes and loading them in the dishwasher, I just dribbled water across the floor, right? So it seems like I was standing in little puddles of water with my bare feet, and I rolled the dishwasher over to hook it up to the sink, And when I put my hand on the metal knob, why it has a metal knob, got nothing, but there's a metal knob, and I went to turn it on. When I touched it, it went, and I got a very big shock, and I actually kind of clung to me, like it wouldn't let me let go. And so I learned right then the importance of keeping electricity and metal and water and me separate, right? Separate. It's a wonder I even do dishes anymore. But so if we take that basic, simple example of electricity and having a learning experience with it and extrapolate the lessons and apply them to another energy flow, let's do it with love, okay? So again, we were all taught a lot of stuff about love when we were little, when we were young. Think about the things that you were taught about this very powerful energy flowing in our world. If your parents were fighting, you learned some things. If they were divorced and talking trash about each other, you learned some more things. If your family was supportive and affectionate, you learned some things. If love was withheld until perfection was attained, you learned some things. If you were taught that your own very nature was unlovable and unacceptable, you learned some things. We didn't all start off at the same point with love, just like with electricity. So wisdom tends to be passed along, but ignorance and fear also get to be passed along. Fear about energy and God and money and love and all sorts of energy. And I'm going to cough again. And then we had some shocking teenager dishwasher type encounters with love, didn't we? Most of us probably had some teenager dark movie theater hand-holding encounters with surges of love, too. All these lessons that taught us about our relationship with energy apply to love as one of those energies. These same kind of mixed experiences are the lessons we go through in life as we learn about all the different types of energy we are in relationship with. Electricity, yes, but love, time, money, ideas, many, many more forms that energy will take. And when we are taught that resources are scarce or scary, our relationship with energy can get pretty wackadoo pretty fast, right? Not helpful. And when we're taught that resources flow conditionally and we either get super competitive to get to those resources, to win our share, or we withdraw and we refuse to compete at all. We're like, I'm not playing this game. So what I have learned is that energy flows in our lives as resources of all kinds, and this energy is actually limitless and abundant. All the energy that has ever existed is present now and will be present eternally. Science has proven that. Energy can never be destroyed. It only changes forms. And we have a great deal of power to harness energy and to use it to fuel our lives. We have the free will to determine our own expanding relationship with energy. So in my highway of life experiences, I've also learned that I have some power about how to decrease the flow and increase the flow of energy. And it's really basic and not terribly difficult to practice. Most of us would agree that we would like a greater flow of resources to work with, right? It's perfectly natural to want all the good things, time, love, money, ideas, affection, opportunities, whatever else you call good. It's natural and normal to want more of it. This is a quote by Ernest Holmes. It's in the book that we're starting right now. It says, every human being thrills at the thought of having dreams come true. The idea means different things to different people, and he goes on to give some examples. Whatever your personal desires may be, as long as they do not hurt yourself or someone else, you have a right to attain them, and you can. Ernest Holmes. So if we want to improve our relationship with energy and increase its flow, the first place we have to look is to examine how we are using our personal powers. Remember our personal powers? Thoughts, emotions, and choices. Those are our powers. And when we go looking, we're watching out for thoughts, beliefs, feelings, choices, and actions that are based in fear or scarcity, because those serve as blocks in our channel of flow. So let's go back to my dishwasher thing, because it's just so fun to remember. I am sure it took some time for me to release my thoughts and beliefs about dishwashers and electricities and thinking that they aren't deadly, right? I'm sure I carried feelings of vulnerability and certainty around for quite some time about that situation. I could have very understandably chosen to hand wash dishes for the rest of my life, or take the action to switch to paper plates, maybe, like to accommodate my fear of this thing. It's a kind of silly example, but I hope you get my point. We decide limiting things when we develop or deepen a fear about an experience we have had. And if I list some of the good things again, time, love, money, ideas, affection, opportunities, I'm sure you can see how many road of life experiences you've had that might have implanted some fearful thoughts and beliefs or emotions or choices around them. Maybe you've had your heart shattered by love. Maybe you've been told you wasted too much time and you're uncertain about how to manage your time. Maybe you've had financial experiences that left you in debt. Maybe your ideas weren't accepted, or perhaps you were mocked for them. It isn't hard to imagine how we could all develop some blockages of fear regarding energy flowing in our lives. Almost everyone I talk to wants more good. As Ernest Holmes pointed out, it's natural and normal to want more. So how do we heal and find more bricks to put into this pillar of abundant energy? First, your beliefs matter. If you just explored beliefs, you would gain ground, because unexplored beliefs that sound like these, it's time to examine them and see the impact they're having. Beliefs like love is hard, poverty is holier than wealth, I'm not good with managing my time, people don't like me, my best life is behind me, just to name a few beliefs that can really impact energy flow. Let's heal your beliefs. And second, the more you respect energy and understand the principles guiding its flow, the more effective you can be at receiving and using more energy to bless your life. In other words, the more you learn and apply what you have learned, the greater your flow can be. Let's learn together and heal. And third, your ideas of worthiness and deservedness are powerful at either attracting or reflecting more energy. Energy does not flow based on good behavior. It flows based on each person's chosen position with the relationship to the flow. In other words, if you feel like you have wasted the resources that you've been given, you're likely blocking more resources from flowing in. Let's heal and remove any blockages to that flow. Fourth, what you appreciates, meaning if you devote your time, love, money, and ideas with discipline into things that you love and enjoy, the resources expand. But if you are directing those things into things you do not enjoy, things that are not aligned with your highest self, the resources begin to dwindle. In other words, practice focusing your resources on the things and ideas you wish to grow and expand. Let's heal that too, right? So over my 25 years in spirituality, I have changed my relationship with energy quite dramatically. But more importantly than mine changing, I have watched hundreds of others grow this pillar in their own lives. I've seen people completely reverse their experiences with love, money, time, creativity, ideas. I've seen it change too many times. And they did it by really being willing to stop judging their own experiences as failures and instead mining them for the lessons they learned and then trying new things based on those lessons to unblock their flow. They did it by affirming that they were worthy just as they were for new opportunities, new streams of income, new relationships, new levels of engagement and living. They did it by being willing to see themselves as an integral part of the whole where all things are possible. They did it by directing their flow into ways of being that brought forth joy. So now pay attention to what you just thought. When I said that others had changed their lives, did you immediately doubt that you have what it takes for your life to change? Maybe you thought, it's too late, I'm too old. I'm too old for my life to change. Or maybe you thought, I'm on a fixed income. My resource cannot ever change. Maybe you thought love doesn't work for me. Whatever those thoughts are, those are the ones that are blocking your energy flow. Pay attention and be willing to question your beliefs about yourself and how life works. And again, energy flowing is just simply the natural way of life. But as human beings with free will, we get to decide our relationship with energy. We get to choose that. And we either choose it consciously or unconsciously. And until we are very purposeful in channeling our energy, this pillar does not grow very strong. But the universe will continue to give us opportunities to strengthen it. So since coming to spirituality is about wanting to improve your life, I can only assume that you would appreciate more lessons about this pillar. And I can promise you, as I said, there are many more to come. As I mentioned, this summer, we're going to focus the whole summer on this particular pillar and the topics. We're calling the summer Showers of Blessings. And I can assure you that you will learn so many practical ways to apply what you learn in your daily lives in transforming your flow. We're going to work on this pillar next as a community. See, we worked on the pillar of relationships last summer in our Summer of Love. We worked on that pillar, all about relationships and how to relate to each other. We just finished a radical self-love class that worked on the pillar of personal well-being, right? So this summer is just going to be working on that third pillar, the pillar of abundant energy flow, because we all have things to learn. See, here's the deal. Our parents and caregivers did the best they could. They gave us whatever they could about these three aspects of living. They showed you their best stuff about how to take care of yourself, how to be in great relationships, how to manage your energy of life. They either passed on their wisdom or their ignorance. We watched and decided to follow their footsteps or not. And then guess what? Then we had teachers. Then we had other people that came into our lives to help us learn all these things. But as I said, most of our education comes from on-the-job training. So pull up a seat. We're going to continue to learn together. I want you to do more than survive. I want you to thrive. Because here's what I know. The more we understand about ourselves and how to build our pillar of personal well-being, the more we develop an ability to create really interesting relationships in our lives, and the more we master the flow of energy, the more we thrive. So as you think about this lesson, I want you to remember that wherever you are is perfect for you. And as you learn more, you're going to have opportunities to make choices to take you into new and brand new places. You're in the perfect place to take your life to a brand new level. Will you pray with me? So I sent her into that place inside where I know that I'm connected to the whole universe around me, and I invite you to do the same. Drop your attention into your heart and just feel that life inside you. And remember that life is an energetic place that we are constantly participating in. And I know that this flow is good. And I know that each one goes about their day, their week, their experiences, strengthening and deepening this flow of energy. All blockages are removed. All clarity that is needed is there. and greater flow is the experience of my life and everyone's life, right here and right now. And so it is.